social worker at Moffitt. I work in the cutaneous clinic with Dr. Sondek and others that you've met today. And so much like what Brenda started the conversation with today was when you get the diagnosis that your child has melanoma, it just kind of stops your world, takes your breath away, and is overwhelming. But the world does keep spinning, and there are things that we have to do to keep our families intact, to keep things rolling, and it can be an emotionally challenging experience. And so I want to talk about some ways to be present for your children and for yourself through your children's diagnosis and treatment. So first of all, talking about the diagnosis with your children, make sure it's an age-appropriate conversation. If you're going to maybe go the magic school bus route with an 8-year-old, but you're maybe a little bit more sophisticated, of course, with your 15-year-old and so forth. And keep in mind the children's personalities as well. When they ask, why is the sky blue, you're not going to go into some deep, scientific analysis. You're going to give them what they can understand at the time. And if you know your kids, if you're seeing their eyes glaze over, if they're feeling overwhelmed with the information, then back off a little bit. So explain things in terms that you feel like they would understand, that doesn't really knock them over the edge. And then talk about what's going to be happening. I am an advocate for preparing children for what's coming up. So you don't just take them out in the afternoon and show up at the doctor's office and they get a shot. Explain to them where we're headed, we're going to go here, this is some things that are going to happen. And there are side effects that I think the kids need to be prepared about. That treatments can make them tired, not feel well. They might need to be ready to get multiple shots, multiple blood draws, you know how it goes, and they need to understand that what's coming up, so they're not sidelined by their experiences. They need to understand how their lives are going to be affected. Children are naturally egocentric, which I think is actually self-preservation. Children are extremely resilient. But part of the egocentrism is, how is this going to affect me? Am I going to be able to go to Bobby's house for, the party after school, or what about my tests and so forth, and how's it going to impact like family activities and so forth. So children like structure, and even when they're pushing the boundaries, it's part of helping them feel comfortable with what's happening to them. They need to know they're going to be taken care of. As parents, you're going to be with them and taking care of them through everything. They need to spend time with the family. And even if you get a little pushback from teenagers who are experiencing their peer relationships, don't think that they don't need you to be that presence, to be that consistency in their lives. So they need to know that it's okay to have strong feelings. And you might find that some of their feelings are come out kind of sideways. So they may have a total meltdown for nap time that maybe they never would have before you started going to doctors and started having surgeries and so forth. And what happens is sometimes children don't know that they know they're upset. They have a lot of emotions inside them, but they don't know how to verbalize it. They don't know how to pinpoint it. Heck, a lot of adults don't know how to do that either. So it may come out sideways, and that's okay. I mean, it's okay to let the kids express themselves, and it may be a little, overreactive in some situations, but validating their feelings and redirecting them is just part of the process of showing them how much you're there for your children. Let them have outlets. If they are still able to participate in like sports activities, in, art activities, going to camps, so forth, give them these choices to be able to stay active and to channel their energies. Most children have a lot of energy. Give them an opportunity to channel it. And seek support from others within your community. If you're active in your church, what kind of resources are there in your schools, in your family. Use the resources that are available to you, because you're not an island. You're part of a bigger community, which is the beauty of AIM. Oops, did I say something? Sorry.
Yep, go.
Okay, there, sorry. So what parents need. So I encourage you to resist projecting your own thoughts and feelings on your children. the picture that the parents are looking at is different than the picture their children are looking at. Your thoughts and fears are on a different scale and level than your child. And your child may be more worried about, getting home to play with on the Nintendo. And that's their goal for the end of the day after the doctor's appointment. And you're thinking about all these other extraordinary feelings, lots of feelings you have about this experience. So be present where the child is at, is what I'm saying, but their goals and interests are, and you don't need to impose your own long-term worries upon them if that's not where they're at right then. It's something that they can come to in time. Also, acknowledge limitations and request and accept assistance. We are not superheroes as parents. We can't do everything for the kids. If you have 20 things planned in a day, but you're tired, your child's tired, modify things as you need to. I know it may feel sometimes that a lot of sacrifices are made during your medical experience because of the appointments, because of how people feel from treatment and so forth, that it feels disappointing to make other modifications, but you have to make it work within your life. And so if you have to not go to a gathering just to take that quiet time with yourself and your family, take that time to do that. So don't forget to take care of your own needs. You know the story of take the oxygen before you give it to your seatmate, because you need to have that strength and courage and to be able to help those around you. If you're burned out, you're not going to be able to be there for your child. So take time for yourself, engage in normal activities that you have enjoyed doing, and whether that's, running, crocheting, attending, meetings at schools. You need to have your own outlets and keep those adult relationships around you strong. If you're in a peer relationship with husbands, wives, significant others, don't forget how important your adult relationships are, because that is going to, again, feed into your own strengths. So a lot of people find a lot of solace in doing activities such as meditation, deep breathing. Studies have shown how it helps with anxiety. The truth is, as a parent with a child with a life-threatening disease, there's a level of anxiety and stress that's always there. And I'm not saying you can erase it, but in order to cope and to be more present, there are ways to work through it. There's apps nowadays for guided imagery and meditation. There are all sorts of resources you can find. I went through this really fast because I was worried about time, so I'm sorry if I can slow down a little bit. So, but I was asked to address the school-related concerns. So, like I said, life doesn't stop when you get a diagnosis and have to go to the medical center, even if it feels like it kind of does. The kids still, school is a big part of their life. And so it's really important for parents to talk to the school, to get them, again, to rally with them. So there may be some modifications you may ask of the school. You want to prep the school and say, hey, a kid can't go to gym class because they're not feeling well because of what's going on, or they had surgery and so they have physical limitations. They have to sit out certain things. Sometimes dress codes can be prohibitive, but if your child would feel more comfortable wearing different coverings because they have some incisions that are healing, they don't feel like they want to expose and so forth, wear a hat, wear long sleeves. These are things that you can negotiate with the schools. Now, prior to my work in the medical setting and in the adult environment that I spent many years working with children. And if there's any educators listening, I apologize for what I'm about to say, but I have yet to have a school volunteer to me all the help that they can provide, such as IEPs and 504 status. So they're not going to necessarily tell you this is how we can help you. So it's really good to know as parents what your resources are. So there are a couple of the Rehabilitation Act, and then later, I'll get to it. when they're talking about a 504 status, have you guys heard of that? And have you used 504? Yeah, okay. So there's, it's kind of a couple different options. One way you can go through is through an individualized education plan, which is addressing like deficiencies, trouble with academics and so forth. But the 504 protects you beyond that. So learning does not have to be a major life activity affected in order for you to be eligible under 504. So this is for kids with mental health concerns, medical concerns, and so forth. So they don't have any learning disabilities or challenges in functioning in the classroom with academics, but they have limitations based on their medical experience or mental health experience, okay? So there's a couple laws that impact the IEPs and the 504s. You don't need an IEP for a 504 because it's not related to your academic achievements. So, and for IEPs, an individualized education plan, it involves a meeting with principals and psychologists and testing, academic testing and so forth. You don't need to go that kind of degree to get your kid protections under the 504 status, the civil rights law. So this is actually from the law that says that you are allowed special considerations. So adaptive PE, use of the nearest restroom, even if it's a teacher's, and to leave the restroom without permission. So they don't have to sit there and wait when they're just feeling horrible. They can just get up and go. So I think it's really important to get the schools involved in working with you and your family to make sure that your child has a comfortable experience when they go to school. So this is the Florida statute, but for those that are out of state, every state has a specific statute. The federal law, of course, oversees all of this. So this is a statute for students who are homebound or hospitalized. So if they're going to spend 15 consecutive days out of school or equivalent, whether they're in a hospital or at home, sometimes they have surgery, and so they have to have so much time at home, 6 weeks to recuperate. The school is supposed to send a tutor out, and they'll send a tutor to your school, they'll send a tutor to your home, the rules are just that it has to be a safe environment for the tutor. So sometimes folks will decide to homeschool during that time period, but you don't have to. I had heard someone's kid, they broke their leg, and the school said, well, just homeschool them for 6 weeks, and didn't give them any other options. And the parent had no idea that they had other options. Like, no, you don't have to be funneled into the program the school tells you. So you can, who do you talk to? You can go to the principal, go to the school district, education, support services, and go straight up to the feds in Atlanta if you need to. Honestly, it's typically going to the teacher first, having a conversation, doing what you can, and then it can escalate to the principal's involvement to make sure that everybody's on the same page. So, but remember, the school's not going to necessarily volunteer, but your options are. So being aware is your best resource. Okay, so I gave a list of resources here too, because social workers, we just love resources. This is not related to academics. This is just general resource guides. In Tampa, there's a Children's Cancer Center, gives a whole packet for families for children with pediatric cancers. I put in a couple of links for the special education advocacy program. There's Rights Law, it's kind of generic. There's an IEP advocate in Florida, and this person actually will go attend IEPs with you because it can be a little intimidating when it's just you and then the educators all around you telling you what to do. Then there are these wish fulfillment programs and retreats, and these are for children with a diagnosis, and it does not have to be end of life. It's just wish fulfillment opportunities to make the children maybe feel more comfortable during their experience. Some of them, they will give you laptops or tablets or things to make the cancer treatment experience more comfortable, if possible. And then these retreats are all over the country, depends on what you're interested, where you want to go. And for the families, again, part of like what Dr. Reed was saying with the peer connection, the AYA gets a lot of support from other adolescents and young adults being involved in group activities such as this allows the children to be around their peers, other kids who are going through what they're going through, because the kids at school don't understand, the neighbors, whatnots, and this allows them to be just really honest in themselves, and it should be fun too. So I like that. I don't know who said that. It's having something as traumatic as a cancer diagnosis in your child. You can see that we can't prepare the path for our children. The path kind of comes at us. So then how can we help our children through this and really be a service to ourselves along the experience? So, any questions?